what we're definitely more excited for is more Euphoria, because it is now 5 episodes into its second season. Do you know how many episodes this season is going to be?
I'm hoping they keep it to the same 10. I think last season's was 10, if not 8. So I guess they're both 8 then?
I think they're both 8. Yeah, which
Okay.
means we're running out of room, running out of real estate to hang out with Rue and Jules and everyone over at the
Yeah.
Euphoria High School. Uh,
So this time around for season 2, I personally think that they've doubled down on all the euphoriasms, I think is
yeah,
how a lot of people have been phrasing it. It's technically on a whole other level. I love the way that they've been filming it, literally putting it on film, a lot of the techniques that they've used. And I will give it the credit that I think emotionally it has charged up its characters to have some of like just literally tipping point moments, just where they're mere seconds of breaking down, if not breaking somebody else down, breaking somebody's face, uh, beating it to a pulp. But I don't think it's as smartly written as the first season is. And I think that's where the biggest downfall for season 2 is. I felt that season 1 did a really good job at putting you at the headspace of all of these different characters who were residing in the school, who all came from different backgrounds. I never made it seem like, oh no, this is taking too much of a detour. This is a whole other story. It was able to blend it all well together with the way that the episodes were structured, of it being the intro flashback, what they're going through in the present, how that bleeds into the present day for everybody there at the school. There's a lot of big swings. I'm not necessarily going to say that they're misses, because when you're dealing with a TV show, you could just answer or flesh something else out a little bit more in a future episode.
yeah.
But they're very loaded. Every episode has been pretty big. Every single time an episode ends, someone swears a character has died, and it trends for a little bit, and then we come in the next season and everything's
Just fine.
okay, I guess, if not worse. Well, sometimes you come back and you're like, actually, it would have been better if that character died. So for that, I will say that this season has been as effective as the first season in getting people's attention, if not more.
hmm
I feel people discuss these episodes on a regular basis as soon as they finish and throughout the week. It has completely entered our meme culture, our social
Yeah.
media culture, reaction culture. Um, and I would say performance wise, if season 1 was able to garner not just nominations but wins for a small portion of the cast, I can see season 2 doing that for more of the cast that they have actually going out of the way
hmm
to have not just bigger episodes but bigger storylines. I think what they've done with Casey this season is pretty much make her the one that a lot of people have been rooting for, especially with the most recent episode with the whole breakdown that happened. I think you're showing a show where you can get rid of some of the characters, and I want to say get rid of some of the characters, but you can put some characters on pause and still be able to carry a storyline because you've built up a pretty fleshed out world.
Yeah, I mean, I
I know
think
you hate it though.
yeah, I'm clearly the biggest Euphoria hater. I think it's interesting talking about how um, season 2 in some ways feels like it's doing some things more and better and maybe some things lesser. I think one thing that maybe has made season 2 suffer is what was really fun and kind of intoxicating about that first season of Euphoria is diving into these different characters' lives, and you get these really extended flashbacks and very kind of like writerly introductions to all the different characters with that Rue voiceover. You know, we had that one this year. Looking back at Fezco's life, and I don't think it's a surprise that that's an episode that a lot of people really resonated with. So when Euphoria doesn't do stuff like that, it kind of ends up being like a mishmash of following the different characters around in a way that maybe makes some of the episodes feel a little bit less focused. I thought this week's episode 5, did not have that problem. It felt extremely focused, and it's one of the reasons why it is maybe the standout episode of this season. Like it's an episode with a clear purpose and a clear narrative drive, and it's not one that is really like a bottle episode. It very smartly is able to weave in some of its other characters and some of its other storylines without being overbearing, but it kind of keeps the focus on Rue, and I thought very interestingly put her issues in contrast with everybody else's on the show, and shows how they're kind of not the same things. This was a really excellent episode this week, and I thought that you know it's definitely a clear case for Zendaya as just one of the absolute most magnetic stars working in film or television. She's so watchable and believable and charismatic, but also vulnerable. It's also a showcase of some what works in Sam Levinson's writing. Like, I think he does some of these dramatic confrontations really well. I think sometimes when he allows the scene to sit in a place for a little bit longer than you expect, he's able to dive into his characters in a way that's really surprising. Like, I think the very slow beginning to this week's episode, the casual reveals of new characters who are around, is done very expertly, and then it ends up being maybe sloppier in other moments. But I thought this week's episode was like far and away the best of the season so far. Are you concerned? So, Ricky mentions that it just got renewed for a third season, and it's kind of drudged up a bit of a discussion about like how long can we watch Rue go through these issues. Do you have any concerns about the longevity of a show like Euphoria?
I don't think the show should last more than 5 seasons, and I don't think the character of Rue can last more than three.
Mm-hmm.
The way that they're writing her, there's just no way. Anything past three is just not a believable. If it is, hasn't already tipped that point. I think the shorter that it is, the better that that the show will have longevity in terms of how it's looked back upon. But it should definitely not. This should not overstay its welcome. I mean, it's already a season that doesn't go past 10. So, yeah, I don't think it should go past 5 for sure.
Yeah. I feel like they're hopefully they can be smart enough to write the characters in a way that extends their stories believably, but the way that they're writing Rue's self-destructive nature, there definitely feels like there has to be a limit to it. Like we talked about this, a similar issue in the context of BoJack, in that like how deep of a rock bottom can you hit before you just don't have any more rock bottoms to hit, and the show loses dramatic interest. And I think BoJack handled that situation in a very interesting way. I don't know if Euphoria is the type of show that can be that introspective, but Sam
Hmm.
Levinson has surprised me, so maybe he has another trick up his sleeve in terms of where Euphoria is headed. It feels like in order to do the type of show that they're trying to do, there's a limit to how much they can put Rue through. And this was a tough week for your girl, but I thought it was really, really effective.
Yeah, same.
Some disagreements in the comments over how effective this season is. Do you think the show is doing an adequate job for all of its characters? Because that's another thing that I felt so far in season 2 is the balance is not quite there the way that it was in season 1.
Um, a little bit. I feel even when you have a character who you give a lot of attention to, like Fez, I felt we paid so much attention to Fez in the first episode, and now he's kind of been a side character. I feel Alexi Demi, her character,
Mm-hmm.
has not had a lot of attention on this season.
Barbie
Plus, a lot
Ferrero.
of her moments have same, yeah. So, I mean, and that's only because we're what, 4 or 5 in already, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we were really able to get a lot of other people's stories by then. Even Jules to a degree, obviously not too much because she has had enough,
Yeah.
but I feel like we haven't gone into her character a lot. I kind of feel like she just came back, and we haven't until this episode actually had a discussion about how the last season ended. So. Yeah, no, I think it's pretty good, but it's also again dealing with the hype of what the first season had, going with it and kind of setting its own model. And if it doesn't fit its own model, then is that considered a negative? Uh, until you look back on it and see how it was able to build itself up. So
Yeah. I'm definitely curious to see what else we have for the remainder of this season, because it's been quite enjoyable.